Banksy, I'm going to do a sweeping video on my phone behind you, if that's okay, while you're doing it. Give it the gravitas. Right. Guys, are we about ready? Is everyone settled? Let's grab our seats. So, our first speaker is a titan of the marketing world, certainly in our region. He's been at the game over 20 years. Optics are, without doubt, the leading agency in town, I'd say. I'm saying that because I've known him when he's been made. And what I like to do is make a person out of the people that are speaking. And I found a little known fact that really made him squeal yesterday. Banksy, when he first started out, used to travel back from Devon to Essex to get his hair cut by his barber because he knew him that well and had it done like that. So although this man is very impressive, he's going to talk to you about the AI of marketing, and he wants a real rapturous applause. He's a real human that does crazy stuff like the rest of us. So can I have a big round of applause for Mr. Alastair Banks, our first workshop of the day. Banksy, it's yours.
Right, first thing first, is this working? Can you hear me at the back? Sort of. Oh, okay. Let me put it up a bit. Any better? No? Hang on. Okay. Any better? Yeah? I don't want to shout, so hold on. Right. Is that okay? Yeah? We're going to go with that. Right. Okay. So, yeah, I genuinely do not know how you find that out, Chris. I'm going to find out, though. I'm going to make it my business to do so. Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you for having me back to Building Brands. It's an absolute honour to be here, and thank you guys for choosing my session. That means a lot to me. I hope to be able to give you some real useful advice and tips and tools and things over the course of the next kind of 45 minutes or so. So, without further ado though, the first thing I need you to do is take a screenshot, no, not, you can see how many virtual events I do these days. Take a photograph of this, which has two really important things on it. One is my contact details, so please connect with me on LinkedIn after this and say hi. I'm not too scary, and I'm always willing to try and help you. And the second one is this link at the bottom, which will take you to a download of all the slides that you're about to see. Okay? So you won't need to come and ask for them afterwards. You'll be able to get to it from there. Anyone taking a photo? Yeah? Still a few cameras up. Okay. Right, I missed it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I wear a few hats. The first one is the one that Chris mentioned. So I co-founded an agency called Optic Solutions, which is a digital agency, when I was 19 here at Exeter University. And believe it or not, I don't look it, but that was 24 years ago. And I can't believe we are going to turn 25 next year. It's quite incredible. So I'm very proud of that, and that's, as Chris said, a digital agency. The other thing that I do is I have a marketing leaders community online where I aim to keep marketing directors and those aspiring to be so up to date with the latest trends, the latest tools. So I release a video every couple of weeks on what the big things that I've sort of kept up to date with over the previous 2 weeks. I'm also a co-founder with Rebecca of the headline sponsor, Your Digital Future, the best recruitment agency in the world. Not biased, obviously. And the other thing that I do, and probably the thing I'm most passionate about, is this kind of stuff, like talking in events. And I'm really lucky these days. I get to kind of fly off all over the place to talk about basically what I'm passionate about, which is what's happening in the world of marketing, what I've done for the last kind of 20 to 25 years. So, before I start, a very quick show of hands. Who here is using ChatGPT? Okay, keep your hand up if you're using it every single day. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I thought it might be a bit higher. And also, it makes my talk even more valuable today. So, I have two objectives today. My first objective is this, that I want to help you guys to understand the power in generative AI and how you can use it specifically within the marketing space. And my second objective, and possibly most important objective actually, is that I want to try to create genuine behavioural change in this area. So I want to take you, and actually the hands in the air show that this is the case, I want to take you from this being something which maybe you've tried a few times, you've had a go at it, it's quite cool, but you don't use it every day, to actually it being your companion, it being there on your desktop every single day for almost everything you do. So that's my aim today, is to get that kind of genuine behavioural change. I'm going to do this through this agenda. So, first of all, I need to explain what AI is, right? Because a lot of people are misunderstood when it comes to this topic. The second thing is what generative AI is, because there is a difference. And again, a lot of people don't necessarily know that. It would be remiss of me not to mention the concerns and considerations that you need to take into account when using this kind of stuff. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's new in the area, in this space. And then finally, and this will be the second half of this, I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to leave it with that and tantalising sentence there, a week in the life of. But I'm going to demonstrate everything that I'm about to talk through this sentence. So I'm going to leave it there and get you thinking. So here we go. This is a horrendous picture. I don't know if you've seen me talk before, but I quite often use this. This is where my life started with AI. AI, by the way, is not new. So this picture was taken in probably 1999, when the fashion was black. And me and my business partner, James, we decided to set up this business called Optic Solutions. But before that, we were studying here. And we were studying computer science. And part of computer science, back then, was AI, interestingly. So when this all blew up with ChatGPT and generative AI in the last year, I suddenly thought to myself, I wonder if I've actually kept any of those textbooks. And I was so happy that I went up in the loft and I actually found my textbook from university. So this is a real textbook, complete with all my post-it notes in there to prove that I did go to the lectures. And it was done by Professor Derek Partridge of this university. I'm sure he's not here anymore. And as you note there, it is the new guide to AI. Now, this is interesting. I was here at 97 to 2000. Derek wrote that book in 1991. AI is not new. Now, I sort of thought to myself, I wonder how things have changed. Like, what's happened in the last 30 years? Why have we gone from learning it back then to nothing to suddenly a massive boom? And basically, it's down to this. It's down to computational power, right? That book, I read the last few paragraphs of it before a few weeks ago, and interestingly, everything in it was pretty much theory. So AI was something that was theoretical. It wasn't necessarily going to be able to be done, but they were talking about if in the future it might happen because of computational power. And that's what's happened. And that's what's happened in the last year, is that suddenly we've been transported into this world where that book is now possible. It wasn't back then. So really interesting for me. What is AI? So AI is all about using computers to mimic the decision-making processes of humans. And there are 3 types of AI, and I want to just go through these. The first one is something called ANI, or Artificial Narrow Intelligence. So ChatGPT, self-driving cars. Remember when Deep Blue beat Kasparov, the chess player? That's a version of ANI. Basically, the AI is exceptionally good at one thing, but it can't do other things. So the way to think about this is you're not going to suddenly get up... ChatGPT is not going to suddenly be able to beat Kasparov, the Grand Master of chess, in a day. It just doesn't happen. But those things are very, very strong at their one particular area. And that's kind of where we are now in the world, right? So lots of people developing lots of different ANIs. AGI is the next kind of level up, and this is where the boffins really are kind of aiming to get to, where AI can suddenly learn something that it didn't know before, right? And it can go off and learn that and suddenly get as good as humans at it. And, you know, I'll admit I'm quite scared by that, but it is where we are probably going. And then you have the really super scary stuff of Skynet, where you have ASI, or artificial superintelligence, where literally robots take over and the end of humanity. Hopefully we will not get to that, and we will focus on ANI today. So that's where we are going to begin. Generative AI, which is ANI, as you know. I'm going to use ChatGPT, which most of you put your hands up and said that you come across, for the rest of this presentation. ChatGPT was created by a company called OpenAI, and the first time most of us heard about OpenAI was in December or November last year, 2022. But actually, it was started back in 2015, so quite a long time ago. And it was started by people like Sam Altman, Elon Musk was on the board at the time, so some really quite big names. And over the period of those kind of 7 years, I guess that was, we saw different things happening in that business. Microsoft came along and put in $1 billion, and all sorts of other, PwC invested in it, and some other people as well. And then we saw the boom. December last year. ChatGPT, the conversational chat bot or AI bot, was born and released. And this is what we're here to kind of talk about, how we can use this in marketing, in the marketing space today. The rise of ChatGPT was like nothing I've seen before. You know, I remember back to 97, 98, 99, when literally people were talking about websites and the internet as if it was going to be a fad. Like, believe it or not, that's what people said. And I had to convince them otherwise. This was similar, but I almost think it's bigger. And I've spent quite a long time, well, when I first heard about it, I almost felt like it was looking through a window into the future. And it's been really exciting learning how to implement it into my daily life now. And I hope that through the rest of this, I'm going to be able to help you guys do just that. The take-up was incredible. In 2006 here, Twitter took 5 years to get to 100 million users. Right, 5 years. And Twitter, in respect to where we were back then, that felt like quite quick. Instagram took 2.5 years. And then TikTok, which we all know as being ridiculous, blew up in 9 months. It took 9 months to get to 100 million users. ChatGPT did it in 60 days. Right, that's incredible. The only thing to beat that has been Threads, but that doesn't count because it had Instagram's database, so we're not going to include that. But in all seriousness, this is an incredible story, an incredible journey. If you've not been to it, and I won't ask you to say so, then this is how and what it looks like. This is how you get to it. Okay, so you go to chat.openai.com, and there are a free version and a paid version, and I'm going to deal with the question on that in my talk. But why should you use this? Why should you consider using generative AI in whatever you do? I'll give you 4 reasons. The first reason is that things that took me an hour, a day, a week sometimes to do now take seconds or sometimes minutes. The efficiency it's created in a lot of things that I do is quite incredible, and it can do that for you too. There are literally billions, maybe trillions of data points now available for you to go and do market research, to look up your competitors, like everything that, yes, you can do this stuff on the internet, but it's a different medium. And now you've got something by your side where you can ask the questions to it to find the answers. And yes, I'm going to come on to the concerns and issues around that in a second. The thing that I think is quite interesting is it helps you get past that kind of creative block. So more often than not, we all suffer from it. You know, you get up in the morning, you think, right, I know I need to post something on LinkedIn or wherever it might be. I don't really know what to say today. Or I've got to write some articles. I'm not really sure what to do. Getting yourself over that hump is a really serious, a really serious benefit of this tool. And then finally, and I think probably this is the most important thing to kind of hammer home, this is just the beginning, right? What we're seeing now is the minuscule part at the top of the iceberg. AI is going to be in everything that you come across in the next 5 or so years. The software that you use, the tools you build, everything. And we're seeing it already, right? Microsoft are bringing out or have bought out Copilot. We're going to start getting used to AI being part of our lives. So one of the most important things I think to take away from today is this isn't going away. And you have a choice. The choice is get on board and be the master of the machine, or get left behind. It is, to me, as simple as that. as I said, it'd be remiss of me really not to mention the downsides or the concerns and considerations. So here are those. The first one is something called hallucination. ChatGPT or generative AI has the ability to do something called hallucinate, which is basically where it takes two things which are probably true, puts them together to make something that's inaccurate, right? And I've seen it do this a number of times in my work. So fact check whatever you get back. Now, the free version will not be as good as the pro version here, so bear that in mind. And also, I mean, in the early days when I used to do this, I quite often would ask it for some advice on websites or things that I should go and read. I'd look at those websites and they don't even exist. So it can happen. But also, it's getting better, and it will continue to get better. But hallucination is a real thing. Privacy is the next thing. Now, I'm not a lawyer, okay? And so don't ask me any tricky legal questions. There's other people in the room. I've seen Ben Travers is around somewhere that can answer these kind of questions. But my advice to people about privacy is be careful. You know, it's still such a grey area. I don't genuinely, and I'm not sure who does, know where everything that you feed into these machines is ending up. Now, what I would say is you're probably safer on the pro version than you are on the free version again, because that's anybody's data. That could end up in all sorts of training places. So be careful when it comes to privacy. I do quite a lot of work with universities around the world, and I'm often working with like researchers and academics who are at the cutting edge of what they do. And my advice there is always never, ever share anything that could get you into trouble, you know, through trademarks and patents and things like that later on. So don't share confidential advice with it, is my advice at the moment. But these things are changing all the time as well. So what I say today may well be out of date by the time I walk out the room. And then bias is another thing. So these tools have been trained on something, right? They've been trained on web pages, web crawls, books, all sorts of things. Someone wrote those, and those people might have had bias. Probably did have bias. Everyone's got bias, right? So bear that in mind in the responses that you get back from these tools as well, that there is likely to be bias baked in. Do you go free or pro? 6 months ago, I would have said to you, go free, try it out, see how you get on, and then decide whether you want to go pro later. Now, don't bother. Go pro straight away. $20 a month is literally nothing. And what you get in pro is unbelievable now. There are a few new additions which I just wanted to highlight. The first one, and these have all happened in probably the last couple of months. So they've linked it up to Bing. So you can now browse the internet, only in pro, not in free. In the free version, you are going to be limited by training data that is up to 2021. In the pro version, it will literally go and scour the whole internet for you. Okay? So what does that look like? It looks like this. I thought I'd ask it something relevant, so I've asked it to go and find out what it can find out about Chris Bentley online. And as you can see here, I've highlighted the fact it says finish browsing. That's to show you that it went off and it found as much as it could about Chris online. And this is what it found out. Now, I'm not going to get you to read this out, but I'll pick this point out. It says he's described as a blend of an athlete, philosopher, and charismatic master of ceremonies. So, you know what I was saying about hallucinating? That's kind of what it's doing, right? But what it does, which is quite helpful when it comes to this particular tool, is it cites where it found the information. So each of those places is a link, and you can go and read where it's got that from, whether it's Chris's Wikipedia page or some other website that's written about him. So then you can start to fact check whether it's actually true or not. But that is an amazing addition to Pro that you do not get in free. And as I say, that's really only just happened in the last couple of months. The other one, the next one is something called advanced data analysis. I'm going to use this in the second half of the presentation. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And then the third one is DALL-E. So DALL-E is OpenAI's image generative AI. Okay. Now, you could get to that by going to DALL-E before, but that meant it's annoying because you've got to go to two different places. It's now baked in to the Pro version. So you can now create all of your images through ChatGPT Plus. So those three things alone, in my opinion, are well worth $20 a month. Well worth it. Oh, here's DALL-E working, actually. So, yeah, you could see that I used it to depict the term behavioural change, which I used earlier on in this presentation, okay? And you might recognise this was the actual image that I chose. So these are quite nice, right? Now, I thought to myself, what would have happened in the previous world? Where would I have got these images from? Probably my only choice is like stock imagery, which I detest, but, you know, it is really the only choice. So I did a search on iStock, which, you know, is not cheap, is it, iStock? It's quite expensive. And I did a search for the word behavioural change. And this is what I got. That's not very inspiring, is it? Like, that's what I had compared to that for free. Well, $20 a month, but for free, basically. I also used it for this talk as well. So the very first slide that you saw with my details on it, I asked it to put together a picture in PowerPoint dimensions, by the way, so you could use this for social media posts, LinkedIn headers, whatever you want. And this is what it came up with, and I chose that one at the top left there. So, amazing addition, again, to ChatGPT. Okay, back to my second objective. I said, when I asked you to put your hands up a minute ago, I reckon probably 3/4 of you put your hands up for the first question. And when I asked you if you used it every day, only about 20 had your hands up, okay? So this is the bit I want, this is the bit I want to try and build a bridge from and to today. For me, I now see ChatGPT in a few different ways. It's another member of my team. With a salary of $20, that's not too bad, actually. Genuinely, though, you know, for a lot of things that I might have had to get to someone to do before, I can now go to this tool. It's my coach. We use it at Optics for sales training, right? We get it to take on the persona of an awkward client. I know there's no such thing as an awkward client there. But take on the persona of someone who wants to negotiate with us hard, and we literally, it puts up suggestions of what they might say to us. We then say what we would say, and we get it to critique us, right? That's the kind of thing that you can do with tools like this. It's your personal assistant. You know, I've used ChatGPT for things like to-do lists, to tell me what I'm doing from calendars, like linked it up with the plugin system so it talks to Outlook and all sorts of clever things like that. So it genuinely is amazing. And I say this last one with a slight tongue-in-cheek, although I'm not sure I am joking, which is it's a friend, right? I say that because I'm not sure I'm here yet in this space. I don't class ChatGPT as my friend, but I'm absolutely convinced that my son and daughter at 8 and 7 will have chat or AI-based friends, and it won't be long before they do. And it's the tool that you can turn to. And in fact, actually, do you know what? I have used it in this way. I had a down day. It happens. And I asked it for some advice on, you know, what I should go and do because I was feeling a bit rough about a particular situation. And the advice it gave me was really good. Really good. So maybe I am actually falling into this category already. I believe that and I don't say this lightly, I believe your most important job this year is to become the best prompt engineer that you can be. And a prompt engineer is just a grand word for someone who questions generative AI tools, okay? So prompts are the way that you talk to these tools. And I truly believe that every single one of you needs to work on this year for risk of getting left behind. So that brings us in to the second part. So, I was thinking to myself as I put this together, how can I do this in a slightly different way? And because I didn't just want to throw up a load of like, oh, you can write this and you can get it to do that, and it'd be a bit boring. So I thought to myself, I know, I'm going to organise the next building brands in a week. And I'm going to do it through the life or eyes of Bentos and Briggsy. Here we go. So, the first thing that I did was I created a weekly planner. As you can see, Chris has been doodling on it there on the sides. And I thought, obviously, they're not going to be able to do the whole thing in a week, but for the purpose of the presentation, I kind of need to put it together this way. So, let's begin. So we start on Monday. That's the first day of the week, by the way. And the first thing that these guys need to do is train the system. Because one of the biggest challenges here with this sort of system is that if you don't train it, the responses you get are rubbish. And I believe that that is probably one of the things that holds a lot of people back. They get told about this thing called ChatGPT, they go there, they ask it something really excited, they get some response and it's quite vanilla, and they go, right, well, sort of right, but it wasn't great, was it? That's probably because they haven't trained it in the first place. Because if you don't train something, how can you expect the output to be any good? So the first task that the guys turn to, garbage in, garbage out, basically. So the first thing the guys do is train it, right? So they talk to it and they say, this ChatGPT, this is not one person, this is two people asking for help. We're a duo of an ex-rugby player, I don't know if you knew Chris played rugby, by the way, and Dave Briggs, who is a marketing guru, and we run this conference called Building Brands. It's got this many people. This is our headline sponsor. Here are some of the speakers. They feed it information, right? We feed it information because we need to. Because we need ChatGPT to understand and give us answers based on it. Okay? So this is the most important thing. Now, actually, if I was doing this properly, I'd probably feed it a lot more than this. In the version now, and this is again quite new, you have this thing called custom instructions. So previously to this, you had to train it every single chat. Nowadays, you don't have to. You can bake it all into this bit called custom instructions. So if this was their system, they would have put all of that stuff I put there in here, and that would be done. It would remember that forever. But I'm just showing you mine quickly, just so you know. If you haven't tried this, this is a great way of training. So rather than, once you've told it all of the bits that you need it to know about you, ask it to question you. So say, now, ask me 10 questions about myself or my business. I will answer those, and that will effectively train you in more detail. And the responses that you'll get will be even better. So if you haven't tried that, that's a really good way of improving the responses that you get. So we've trained it, right? The guys have trained it. They sat down and done that. And the first thing that they do, or think to themselves, is let's start with a bit of a plan, right? We're at day dot. We need to get to 6 months down the line. We need to create this event. So, dear ChatGPT, we're about 6 months off running the next Building Brands. Can you give me a month-by-month checklist of things that we should be considering? Remember, I've not told it anything other than that, just that training, okay? So it's now given them a 6 month out, 5 month out, 4 months out, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, etc. And then a week of the event, right down to last night. So get a good night's sleep before the event. Dave, I'm not sure you were up here till midnight, were you, today? So you haven't listened to that one. So yeah, we've got our plan now. And the first thing that these guys think is, holy cow, that is a lot of information. By the way, you're never going to get that in a stock image library. So they've got their plan, right? And the first thing that Chris thinks to himself is, shit, that is a lot of work, isn't it? We need help. Right? I need to persuade Dave that I need someone who can come in, an employee, to help us. So I need to go to ChatGPT and ask it to make a business case for this. So he does that. So ChatGOAT, sorry, I'm a rugby player, don't mind me. I'm chatting to you on my own, so don't tell Dave. I think we might need to recruit someone to help us with this next conference. He's a beast. Can you help me with a business case that I can send to Dave to persuade him? So firstly, ChatGPT tells him how to write a business case. But Chris is an ex-rugby player. He doesn't know how to do that. So he needs ChatGPT to actually write the case, not tell him how to write it. So he then goes back to it and he says, could you help me write the actual case? I'm a rugby player, they didn't teach me that. So it does that. And it's very good, actually. It gives a situation analysis. It tells you what will happen if they don't take anybody on. It puts together proposed solutions and benefits and cost analysis and all sorts. And obviously now he takes this to Dave and says, Dave, please, can we have someone to help us? And Dave says, okay, fine, but these costs are sort of spiralling out of control a bit. I need to get a grip on this. Have you written up a budget for us? And Chris is like, no, I haven't written a budget. Sure. So anyway, so he thinks, but actually ChatGPT can help me with that, can't it? So here we go. Can you help us put together a budget for the event? And we've got income down here, all the ticket sales, sponsorships, etc., merch, all that kind of thing. And then the expenditures as well. Now, obviously, Chris is going to work on this and get it to be more accurate for his particular event. But it's still quite a good start. And he takes this back to Dave and he says, look, I've done all the figures and actually I think we can make some money here, it's fine, even if we take this person on. So, good news, they can have somebody. So Dave signs it off. And Chris thinks to himself, right, I've got to find someone now, how do I do that? So he thinks to himself, oh, do you know what, I can't really think for myself, I've got to go to ChatGPT. So amazing, Dave signed it off, I need to start the recruitment process to find this new individual. Who should I talk to? ChatGPT reminds him at this stage, based on the training, that his headline sponsor is Your Digital Future, the best recruitment agency in the world. So, reminds him to go and speak to Rebecca. And he obviously thinks, oh, why didn't I think of that myself? And obviously goes and speaks to Rebecca from there. And the first thing that Rebecca says to him is, I think it's a great idea, Chris, and I think you probably do need somebody, but I don't know who to look for. I need you to write me a job description because you know your business better than I do. So can you create me a job description? And obviously Chris is like, honestly, you're pushing it now. I don't know how to write a bloody job description. I've never done one of them. So he turns back to ChatGPT again and he says, okay, I've spoken to Rebecca at Your Digital Future, a leading assessment and recruitment agency for the marketing and tech sector. Can you write me a job description for this role? Certainly, I will write that for you. Here you go. So event coordinator, where it is, the Building Brands Conference, about us, a role summary, key responsibilities, qualifications, etc. Just as an aside, by the way, I hate writing job descriptions. I'm so glad I never need to write one ever again. So ChatGPT has that all catered for. So he takes that to Rebecca, and Rebecca says, thank you, Chris, I'm going to go and work on this for you. And everyone ends Monday thinking, we've done a lot of good work there, guys. Let's get on to Tuesday. So, Tuesday comes. Rebecca has been working all night on this and lined up at least 5 quality candidates overnight. That is how good she is. So she goes, and Chris and Dave get together and think, oh, crikey, now we've got to interview these candidates. Right? So they're all ready to go on Tuesday morning. But they don't really know what to ask these people because although they've run events, they don't necessarily know what an event coordinator might need to do. So here we go. Rebecca's found a number of candidates for us. She must run one of the industry-leading assessment and recruitment agencies. Quite phenomenal. I need to put together some interview questions. Can you come up with 10 for me? Right? Now, I could have asked for 20 or however many. But this was awesome. And actually, these questions are really good. Like the second one, I really like, the problem-solving one. Can you describe a time when something went wrong during an event and how you were managing it to see if someone takes responsibility, etc. So these questions aren't just vanilla questions. They're actually really quite good. And again, ChatGPT has helped the guys to do this. So there you go. They find their candidate, and their candidate happens to be called Lucy. So she is the ideal candidate. And they both say, yeah, let's get Lucy on board. Let's get her to start tomorrow. So they just think to themselves, right, we need to get a welcome letter out to her quickly. So ChatGPT, we found someone. Our successful candidate is called Lucy. Could you write me a welcome letter, please? Yeah, sure, here you go. Dear Lucy, well done. You got the job. You start tomorrow. So Tuesday goes, and it might not look like they did a lot of work, but there was a lot of interviews there, so that's what padded out the day. So Lucy starts on Wednesday, and she takes the reins, and she thinks to herself, or says to the guys, we need to do some marketing here. Like, we haven't done anything yet, or we've just relied on previous events. So this is where I would start, guys. You need to create some personas for your event. Let's use ChatGPT to do that. So Lucy tells ChatGPT who she is and what she's doing. Initially, I'd like you to create some personas for the event attendees, and it comes up with the marketing maverick and the brand builder, the digital dynamo, and a few others as well. Right? So it's coming up with some quite good personas straight away. And she says, that's amazing, thank you. Let's explore the first one initially. So create me the marketing maverick called Mickey, and give it a bit more detail, please. So personas, obviously, we know, fictional characters aim to be our ideal customers. And it creates Mickey the marketing maverick. It tells you a bit about all their demographics, their background, professional goals, event expectations, their pain points. This is all brilliant, right? We can then feed this straight into our marketing. I then asked it, Lucy then asked it, brilliant, I'm looking to create some content for other websites which Mickey might frequent. Can you help me work out which ones to reach out to, please? It then tells Lucy which are the best websites for someone like Mickey the Maverick, marketing maverick. And these are really good. Like, these are the kind of websites which me and the guys at Optics would go to. So if Lucy can place content onto those places, that's going to help, right? So it hasn't just given us a load of trash, it's given us some really good stuff. I then asked it, do you know any podcasts that Mickey might listen to? I'd like to consider sponsoring one or doing a guest interview. And there it puts out all of the greatest podcasts that you can find in the marketing space. And obviously number one there is More Than Digital Marketing by Optic Solutions. So, again, giving her some really, really strong quality advice there. And then she says to herself, right, okay, have we got a content plan? No, we haven't got a content plan. Right, can you help me create one? Sure, no problem. Here we go. So I'd like you to create me a 3-month content plan. I just picked 3 months. I want 4 pieces of content every month. I want it to be a mix of blogs and other mediums. Come up with something. Give me ideas. Get me over my creative block. And here you can see it's come up with blog articles and podcast interviews with speakers and social media campaigns and the like. And there's month 2 as well. I haven't gone any further. But the point is to show you is that it's actually really good. Okay? It doesn't tell you what the content is, but it's given you the ideas. But then she says, okay, can you help me create by starting one of those? So she says, okay, I'm going to start with the Meet the Maestros blog. As Alastair Banks is kicking off with Beyond the Content, let's start with that. Can you write me a first draft, please? And it writes the blog about my talk. Really important point here. Always, always iterate when it comes to whatever you get back from these tools. Never take option 1, right? Tell it what you like, tell it what you don't like, ask it to add things, ask it to remove stuff, tell it to change the tone, do all of those things. Never take option 1, because that's where you get into that issue about it being vanilla and thinking actually it's not that good. So make sure that you feed back into the system to get to where you need it to get to. So she's got her blog, and as she attends the Optics Digital Marketing Academy, which is one of the leading academies in the UK, and she's been on a course actually with me, funnily enough, I tell her about one of Google's latest updates, which is the helpful content update, which is something that they've been rolling out over the last 2 years, right? And she thinks to herself, oh, crikey, Alastair told me about that Google's helpful content thing. I wonder if the blog that I've just written is any good for that. So she turns to ChatGPT and says, can you go and learn about Google's helpful content update and then run the article that you've just written through it and tell me how good it is? And this is what happens. So again, you can see it finish browsing. It has literally gone and read all of Google's guidelines, and then it's thought about the article in relation to them, and now it's spent time telling Lucy whether it's good or not. Brilliant. Super useful. Can you repurpose for socials? Yeah, of course I can. Here you go. LinkedIn, Twitter, now X, obviously, and Threads. There you go. LinkedIn. Twitter's got some hashtags in there. It's quite nice. And Threads as well for me. So she can now literally copy and paste that out to promote the article she needs to. So that's a pretty good day. Pretty strong day when it comes to marketing, right? She's done a lot. She's created personas, she's created content, she's created a plan, she's created blog articles, she's checked them with Google's update. She's done a lot. And Thursday rolls on. Thursday is the day that they get in touch with me, because there's this thing called advanced data analysis as part of Pro, and they don't really know how to use it, which is okay, it's fine. So they say to me, oh yes, this bit down here. They say to me, how can we use this bit for our Building Brands conference? I say, no problem. Here's what you can do with it. And I give them an example, basically. So I created 3 spreadsheets here, which are all fake spreadsheets, and I literally put in some names they're guest list spreadsheets. So building brands 1, 2 and 3. These are the people that went to each of those 3 events. The names of the people, the email addresses, and whether they paid or not. What I then did is I uploaded all 3 spreadsheets to advanced data analysis, like this, and I said, I'm going to ask you to interpret this data across these spreadsheets now. And I actually said to it, I'd like to understand things like how many guests attended each event, what the crossover was, which companies, based on the part after the @ sign, this is how detailed you can get with it, and who is the superfan that came to most of the events. And sure enough, it went off and it broke it all down. It read all the spreadsheets, it told me how many unique guests I've got, told me who's attended all 3, who's come to multiple ones. This bit's brilliant. It told me the companies that were represented and how many, and it even told me that I likely had a typo in my address. I didn't notice that, but it did. So it noticed stuff like that. And their super fan who attended most events is Rob from Optic Solutions, who attended all 3 events. This is amazing. Imagine what this is going to mean for when we use it with our KPIs and the data we get out of Google GA4 and things like that. Right? This is where we're going to start to go. We're going to start to ask it really cool questions to do with documents that we upload. You can also use it for some pretty random stuff as well, like you can convert files from one format to another. You can ask it to interpret images and get transcribed videos and all sorts of stuff, right? This is all part of the Pro or Plus version. That's why it's worth paying $20 a month. Oh, and here we go. So then I said to it, amazing, can you strip out all the duplicates, create me a list of emails that have attended across all 3 events. Then I would like you to create an email inviting them to our next building brands. And actually, I'd like you to give a special one to Rob because he's our super fan and he needs to get a 10% discount for it. And there you can see the text file, which was here. So it says, I've created all that, and here you can download it. And then here are the emails that it's created inviting people from that list to our next event. And actually, you can see Rob's one on the side there that says, use this code and you'll get 10% off. Amazing. Literally amazing. All from reading 3 spreadsheets. So, again, that doesn't look like a lot of work on that Thursday, but genuinely it was. So Friday rolls on, and we reach the end of the week. And Lucy takes the reins again, and she thinks to herself, actually, I need to create a few emails here, bank of emails that I can use for the event. I'm getting closer to kind of organising it all. So the first thing she does is create outreach emails. People that she bumps into, or the guys bump into, or their database before, she creates an email to invite those people to the next event. Very simple. She then thinks, I need to create some sponsor emails as well. So I'd like to create an email for my sponsors. Please thank them for their support and give them some tips for the day to get the most out of the day. Now, I haven't scrolled down here, I'm not going to, but some of these tips are really good. Right? I haven't told it anything. Those are the suggestions it's made. Create speaker emails to people like me, saying thank you for speaking, and by the way, here are some tips for you to do your talk without being too patronising. In fact, I said that to it. These are professionals, I don't want to insult them by teaching them the obvious. Right? Tell it exactly what you need it to do. Be strong with it. And it creates a really good email for that. And then finally, create an attendee email as well. So this is the event, this is the email that would go to the attendees a month before the event, telling them all the things that they might need to, or should get excited about from there. Again, a very good email. And then finally, and coming right to the end now, Dave takes back over the reins and thinks, right, I'm going to do, in fact, Chris did it today, but I'm going to do a welcome speech. And Dave gets it to create him a welcome speech for the day, please. I don't want this to be very long. I want it to be punchy and to the point. Again, telling it exactly what to do. So there you go. There's his welcome speech. And then the week is done. And they actually get to relax because of all that work that ChatGPT has done for them. Now, I'm hoping that what I've done there displays both some of the things that this tool can do, which you can use, right? And some of it you will know about already, some of it you might not do. But most importantly, it gets us into that behavioural change area where you can see that over a week-long period, the amount of things that Chris and Dave and Lucy can do is quite incredible if that tool sits by their side. When I open my browser in the morning, ChatGPT is open. It's like the first tab. On my phone, it's one of the first icons on my homepage. It has become that important to my life. Pretty much everything I do now, I kind of think to myself, I wonder if ChatGPT could do it. Funny story, actually. Rob in our office, who some of you have probably met, he can be quite abrupt. He actually gets ChatGPT, lovely guy by the way, but he actually gets ChatGPT to rewrite his emails so he is not too abrupt. That's what he does. So, yeah. So, we've reached the end, and I thought to myself, as I was putting this together, crikey, this is really scary. So I'll end by asking it one last question. And the question I asked it is this. So I'm a bit worried. With generative AI being so powerful now, will I ever be asked back to another Building Brands to present again? Or will everything in the future be taken over by AI? And this, my friends, is the answer. Hey Al, I understand your concerns. Thanks. It goes on to say a number of things, but just quickly, human touch. While AI can generate content, it lacks human touch and personal experience. And all the real-world challenges you faced are invaluable, and these are experiences that AI simply cannot replace. And then it ends off with this. I believe there will always be a demand for genuine human insights and perspectives, especially from accomplished individuals like yourself. Thank you. So I'd say that you still have plenty of opportunities to present at Building Brands and similar platforms in the future. I feel like I still might have a job for the next few years. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.